Hello, welcome to the No Rest for the Weary podcast. My name is Claire Hill, self-belief and business coach and founder of the Weary Business Club. Before we get going, if you like this episode, if you think she sounds a bit of all right, please hit subscribe or follow wherever you're listening. Potentially you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on Apple or Spotify podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. And a little like, subscribe or a follow is just giving me a lovely high five, saying that what I'm doing is fantastic because this is all free for you and I bloody love creating it for you. I am recording this one out of sync. I'm supposed to be recording episode 272 before I record episode 273, which is this one. Though thinking about it, have I even got the numbers right? I don't know. I'm back off my holiday to Thailand, which I'm going to talk about in the previous episode that I'm recording next. But the reason I'm recording this one first is because this is a question that came up for me while I was writing my book this morning. So this doesn't come from anybody in particular, but I have spoken about this issue a lot. It plagues people's minds, drains energy, keeps you stuck, stops you from seeing how magic you are, all of those crappy things. And as Theodore Roosevelt said, it is the thief of joy. I'm talking about comparison. And today I want to talk to you about how you can stop comparing yourself. This is directly linked to imposter syndrome. As you may have gathered by listening to my podcast for a while now, I believe and I teach that it's like got roots, right? And doubt has roots in imposter syndrome, fear, and worthiness. And you have to combat those roots and see where your doubt is strongestly rooted in order to move forward with it. Doubt isn't going to go anywhere, but you can manage it in order to progress. And it potentially definitely gets a lot quieter. If part of your doubt, well, to be fair, let me just stop there as a caveat. My doubt was had roots in all three things. So, but imposter syndrome was a big thing, comparison. Now, I am writing a book at the moment. I've had had a dream last night that an old friend said to me, and I actually wrote this in the book because this is how doubt is such a bastard. This friend that I'm no longer friends with came to me in this dream and said, your book is not worth the arsehole energy. Now, what the frig that means? What does arsehole energy mean? I have no idea. But anyway, what it's basically saying is that my doubt is questioning whether this doubt is worth it or not. This book, I'll tell you now it is, because my book is for me and I'm writing it because I love writing, and you will benefit from it when it comes out. First draft is going to be ready very soon. And then I'm going to get it published. Well, after the second edit, the first edit, second draft. Anyway. But what came up this morning when I was writing was how when imposter syndrome is really keeping you stuck, you will gravitate to seeking a lot of external validation in order to support the fact that you should be doing what you're doing. So external validation looks like checking your emails, checking your notifications, checking your messages, checking that people are saying you're doing a good job or that you are here to do great things because you have received a text message or an email from somebody. And especially if you're getting those emails with sales, if you're looking for those on a consistent, and I mean like obsessive way, not even consistent, it's obsessive, that always you're checking and you're going through the apps, that is linked to you seeking external validation to cure your imposter syndrome. That external validation will also be sought in checking other people to check that you're doing it right. What are those other accounts, potentially your competitors? What are they doing at the moment on Instagram? What are they doing on TikTok? How are they showing up? What are they talking about? What are they producing in order for you to feel like you're in the right place? that you're doing the right thing. I'm here to tell you that if your ideas and your magic has brought you to this point right now, you're doing fantastic, babe. And there's nobody else out there, and I know everybody says this, but nobody else out there is you. Nobody out there is doing what you are doing. Therefore, you cannot compare yourself to anybody unless you can find yourself in an alternative universe. I always think about this. I don't think he'll ever listen to this, but I always imagine this. Well, I don't always imagine, that sounds a bit crazy, but I do imagine me and living in an alternative universe with all of my ex-boyfriends and whether I married them or not. But I'm in this universe right now talking. And would she, different partners, if I'd stuck with those boyfriends, would I have been doing this? I don't know. I'm very grateful to my husband at the moment. Just celebrated 7 years of marriage while we were in Thailand. And oh my God, he's just the best. He really is. And I think he's so fit. I feel so grateful though. I find my husband very attractive. It's really good, isn't it? Anyway, back to comparison. When we are looking, I really went off on a sidetrack then, didn't I? I know some of my listeners and most of you enjoy my little sidetracks. But I'm hot off of bloody Thailand. I've still got jet lag, for Christ's sake. Anyway, comparison is a thief of joy because you're never ever going to find, it's like perfectionism, which is also linked to imposter syndrome. You're never going to find somebody that you can successfully compare yourself to in order to benefit from that, unless you reframe it. So and these are my tips to stop comparing, by the way. I'm going to start now. Number one, if you are visiting Instagram to seek that feeling of inadequacy, which is what your doubt might be leading you to do in order to sabotage your success, to keep you stuck, you need to become aware of that process. And that will come about when you find somebody that you follow, somebody that you interact with on Instagram, and potentially when they show up, it makes you feel a bit icky. It might be that you're thinking, why have they got that success when I'm obviously doing a better job, or they've only been doing it a few years. Why are they getting more success than me? Or it might be, why does she, and I'm going to say she, I know men listen to this podcast, but potentially it's, why does she look better than me? How can I show up if I don't look as good as her? Okay, this is why I often show up on Instagram looking like a double dip tea bag with my little pea head and no makeup, because this is my human face. And that is not only benefit for me and my resilience to being less critical about my beautiful human face. And we all have beautiful human faces. All of you, yes, you are beautiful too, everybody. But our beauty shines through, just like Roald Dahl said, with our happy thoughts, and then you will always be beautiful, because it starts here. Beauty starts in your mind and in your heart and in your soul. So the face got nothing to do with it. And if actually you're showing up and thinking, they look really beautiful, apart from the Kardashians, I'm going to put a little, which might polarize the opinions of the listeners. I don't know whether I'm going to stop there. I'm being neggy. I don't need to be neggy, do I? But maybe you can fill in the blanks with that one. So number one, if you come across anybody on Instagram that is really triggering you and making you feel like I'm not good enough, you need to mute or unfollow as soon as possible. They are doing no good for you. Okay. By the way, it might even be me. Unfollow me, mute me. I would rather you unfollow me and mute me if I'm triggering you in any kind of way than you keep following me just because she might see that I've unfollowed her. Honestly, babe, you do you. You've got to do you. Number two, the reason why we're seeking that external validation is because you potentially aren't loving yourself enough. And what I mean by that is recognizing your magic and really fulfilling that gap that you might have in your self-esteem. And a really easy way to do that is to write a list of ways that you love yourself. Now, for some of you, that might be really, really tricky, but start small. Start with something about you, like the fact that you give really good cuddles to your children, or that you really love reading and that you can read a book very quickly, or that you feel really passionate about a certain part of your business and that's where it came from, or that you survived something really, really traumatic and the fact that you are still here, you love yourself for. Really look at how you're how you are invested in yourself before we start looking outside. External validation is a proper killer of shit. It really is. And when we're comparing ourselves, we're just not appreciating how freaking good we are. And thirdly, and I think the most important, I want you to just focus on you. When you are comparing yourself and taking yourself away from who you really are and what you are here to do, it is a form of procrastination and self-sabotage. I know I've just said that, but you really have to see it as a form of procrastination, because when you are seeking those feelings and you're looking out for them, you're going to Instagram for that, to compare and feel shit. And hands up, I've done that before. I don't do it anymore. I I've lost my train. You know why? Because I've just had a full thing just land in my head. Shit, what was I just saying? Thirdly, stick to your own, yes, stay in your own lane. It's a waste of energy looking at anybody else. Think about how much energy you could get from like being totally focused on what you're doing instead of what everybody else is doing. Wouldn't that be amazing? And fourth, the extra one. When you see somebody that you feel that you're triggered by and you're comparing yourself to, I want you to look at how they can be your inspiration. If that jealousy and that trigger and that comparison is coming up for you, it probably means that you want that success for yourself, right? So how can you create it in an inspirational way? Do not copy, of course. Nobody copies. Anybody that copies is just basically an idiot. But you can be inspired. Be inspired by how they've got there. Learn about their story. Learn about the steps they've taken. Do they talk about any support that they've had, or any coaching that they've had, or any training that they've gone on that will get them closer, get you as well closer to where they are? Do they have a really slick website? How can you create that for yourself? What about their branding and their messaging? What about how they present on Instagram? Do they show up more? How can you do that too? Are they a bit of a prepare Paula and actually have things scheduled? And that's potentially something that's missing from your tool set, as we say. You can change those people that go from triggering you and comparing yourself to them into inspiration. So tell me how that landed for you in regards to those 4 ways to reduce your comparison. I would love to hear about it. If you've got a question that you would like me to answer and dedicate a whole episode of the podcast to you, all you have to do is email beliefteam@clarehill.uk or comment wherever you're watching. If you're listening on Spotify, comment below, or if you're watching on YouTube, comment there as well. All right. Have a wonderful day wherever you are.